O'clock here on a Tuesday night, and we're going to begin in Sumter. That's where Sumter police are getting ready to meet with the media to give us an update on the murder of 29-year-old Cherie Bradley and the disappearance of her 5-year-old daughter, Nevaeh Adams. This is Russell Ward, the police chief with the city of Sumter. Let's listen in live.
Provide you an update within the last 24 hours of a horrific, regrettable issue and crime that's happened in our community, whereby a mother and a child lost their life due to a violent act. What I'd like to do first is give you a timeline of the events from the initial officer's response, what we were able to develop and do throughout the night, and what we've done today concerning the investigation. Lantana Apartments, which is located on the screen, at approximately 6:10 last night, we received a call concerning from a family member about a lady found in an apartment. From 6:10 to 6:20, officers had already arrived on scene and identified a suspect based on information from individuals in the community. Dante Maurice Johnson was taken into custody at 930 Susie Rembert Road, which is in the immediate area of Lantana Apartments. The initial canvass of the area and talking with witnesses and other persons involved that Cherie Bradley lived in that residence and that she had 3 children. We began an exhaustive search for the 3 children to account for those children during the course of the investigation. We were able to account for 2, a 3-year-old son and a daughter I believe was 13. Is that correct? Right, 13-year-old son. There was a 5-year-old Nevaeh, which is a 5-year-old daughter of Miss Bradley, was unaccounted for. We began an exhaustive search by canvassing the area, talking with family members. Some time later, we located a father that lives outside the city limits and determined that Nevaeh was in fact not with him. He was taken into custody and brought to the police department, and we began interviewing the suspect, Mr. Johnson. While detectives were interviewing the suspect, other officers were searching and canvassing the area, again looking for Nevaeh, looking at abandoned apartments and new apartments. Lantana is going through an overhaul of some of their properties, search wooded areas, canvas property adjacent to it. During the course of the interview, at the same time, we were contacting our partners at the State Law Enforcement Division in order to have dialogue with them relative to an Amber Alert. There's very specific requirements in an Amber Alert, and while we were talking with the State Law Enforcement Division representative, Mr. Johnson admitted to killing both Miss Bradley and Nevaeh, 2 investigators that were at that time interviewing him. He also relayed to us that he had disposed of the 5-year-old's body in a dumpster, which is on the property owned by the city of Sumter. So at that time we began an exhaustive search and partnering with our local, within the city, our local sanitation department and our local county landfill. We determined that based on the timeline that we believe that Miss Bradley was killed and located, that there was a timeline in there whereby the dumpster was taken from the property, dumped into a truck and replaced, and then all of that garbage went to the county landfill. We immediately contacted the county landfill, went out and located 9 vehicles, 9 trucks that were scheduled to go to the transfer station in Richland County at the Screaming Eagle landfill. We began an exhaustive search last night at the county landfill, followed this morning about 3:30 a.m., began a search of the garbage as it was offloaded of the 9 vehicles. Each one of those trucks has about 23,000 pounds of garbage. 2.3 pounds of garbage on the trucks. So it was a very exhaustive search of the garbage, up to 230 tons of garbage. As of right now, we have not located Nevaeh. We're going to continue an exhaustive search. This is an ongoing investigation. We're still interviewing people. We're still talking to witnesses. We still need information. This was a tragic event that took place in our community in the hands of an individual who was wanted for a homicide in another state and also has a history of violence against women, along with domestic violence. Our detectives have maintained connectivity and contact with the family. We'll continue to do so. It's a very sad time for our community. From the time the original officers arrived, throughout the course of the investigation, those officers investigated, and part of the investigation has continued throughout the night. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, if I can.
Do we know the relationship between the suspect and the deceased person?
We do know they were acquainted. We do know that they had some level of a relationship. As to what depth, we do not know.
What are we looking at for motive here?
It's domestic related. That's what we believe.
Do we know the manner in which the 2 victims were killed?
Until the autopsies are completed, and as this is an ongoing investigation, we're not at liberty to provide that level of information at this juncture.
So right now, you don't know if the 5-year-old is dead or alive?
We believe that the 5-year-old is deceased, although based on the information we received from the suspect, we've searched the landfills. We're going to continue searching. In fact, we're going back in some areas tomorrow to search again. We keep hope that perhaps she's still alive. We're going to continue to search. We'll continue to take information. But based on what we know now, based on the information he provided us, she would be deceased.
So overall, has he been cooperative in this investigation?
I don't know that I would quantify it as cooperative. He has provided information to our investigators, and we're continuing to follow those leads.
Do you anticipate additional charges?
There's going to be additional charges as we proceed. This turns more into a forensic investigation now, absent of the body. We'll continue to forensically investigate it, while at the same time attempting to locate the remains of 5-year-old Nevaeh.
Do you think he had help?
There's nothing indicated at this point.
How was he able to flee the scene and people see him fleeing the scene and then also potentially dispose of the body? Do we know, as far as that timeline, how that looks?
Well, so far as how he disposed of the body, based on what we know is what he's provided us in an interview. When officers arrived on scene, he was pointed out as a person that was associated with the family, and once he made initial contact with officers, he fled, where he was pursued on foot and apprehended on Susie Rembert.
Do we know how long he's been in our area?
We do not.
Was he found at a home or a residence or just out on the street, or where was he found?
Where was he found?
Yeah.
He was found in the parking lot of the apartment complex. Once seeing officers, he fled on foot and entered a home that he's not associated with, and the homeowner allowed us to go in. We made apprehension at that time.
Where are the other 2 siblings?
I don't have that information.
Did he admit to how he killed her, the mother?
Again, that would get too far down into the investigation. It's still active. The information we have right now relative to how he did it is not something I can provide at this time.
Who called 911?
I don't know.
And you said her body was placed in a dumpster on the property?
Based on the information we have now, yes.
Did this search so far involve both the Richland County landfill as well as Sumter County landfill?
Correct.
And that's because of the schedule that those trucks take?
It's because the trucks or emptied here into another vehicle, taken to the landfill on Screaming Eagle Road.
Are you able to go into Mr. Johnson's background?
Other than what I've given you, based on information, he is wanted for a homicide out of Missouri. We know that he's been involved with criminal activity involving females, and he has violent tendencies and some property crime issues.
Do we know why he took the girl and left the mom?
We do not.
Time frame wise, you said a couple hours had transpired that the mother had been dead before that call was made.
I don't know the exact time. How long it was, I don't know. That would be pending the autopsy.
Do y'all know if the girl was killed at the apartment or was it, on property?
Say it again?
Do you know if the girl was killed at the apartment or do you think she was alive after he left?
Based on what we know or what we believe, that they were both killed within the property, in the apartment.
Was there anyone else home at the time this crime took place?
Not that we're aware of.
Do we know who walked in and discovered the body?
I do not. It was a family member, but I don't know the name.
Are you asking the community to continue searching, or at this point, are we looking at recovery efforts, focusing on the landfills and calling off the community search?
We're not calling off the community search. We will continue to look in the landfills. We will, as I said earlier, we're going back into the general area and begin searching again. We do need any information the public may have. We've gotten great support from the community. We've got a lot of information from the community. We've had great support from the Sumter County Sheriff's Office, the Richland County Sheriff's Department. The landfills, both landfills have been very cooperative and helped us as we proceeded throughout the day. This is a very ongoing investigation. We still have work to do. Our detectives will still be following up leads.
Chief, what are just your thoughts on this whole matter? What's your thoughts?
It's a tragedy for our community. It's a tragedy for a family. We have an individual who was very violent, who has taken the life of a 5-year-old and her mother. This cuts to the core of who we are as a community.
You guys, with the search right now, are y'all using like dogs or anything like that?
We have used cadaver dogs in the landfills, and will continue to do so.
So you touched on, can you address just the sheer volume of trash that we're talking about that your investigators are having to sift through at this point?
Let me get back to my notes here. Hold on a second. 230 tons would be a good estimate.
Are you all still bringing, is trash still going into the landfills while, like, how are you separating what's there from piling on?
So based on the timelines of when law enforcement was called, based on the timelines and the information he provided relative to the location he placed the body, we're able to track which dumpsters and which trucks from the city were taken to the county landfill, identified those trucks that were being taken to the Screaming Eagle facility. So we've got a gauge of time, and that's where the 230 tons of garbage comes from.
Is there a chance that you never find her?
I hope not.
All right, you guys good?
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
We have information up here about camera alerts, if you need it, we got the Justice Department.
So there you have Sumter Police Chief Russell Rourke giving us an update on the disappearance of 5-year-old Nevaeh Adams. She is feared dead tonight, and you heard some gruesome details there given to us by the police chief tonight. The suspect in this case, 28-year-old Dante Johnson, admitting to police that he killed this little girl and then put her body in a garbage bin. A bin that was dumped into one of the city trucks. It was picked up and taken to the landfill. As far as that search, they were searching the Sumter landfill today, also searching the Richland County landfill site off of Screaming Eagle Road. Again, the suspect confessing today to killing Adam's mother, 28-year-old Cherie Bradley, last night, and then to killing 5-year-old Nevaeh Adams last night as well. As you heard the police chief say there, they are hopeful to find this little girl's remains as soon as possible. He called it a tragic event in the city of Sumter. Of course, we have much more on this still developing story on our website right now, WLTX.com. We're going to take a quick